Welcome to Showreel. I'm Catherine Tucker. Today on the show we will be talking about the ins and outs of what it takes to be a producer, as well as bringing you all the latest movie news and a review of Johnny Depp's new film, The Lone Ranger. Joining me today is my lovely co-host, Danny Backinger.
Thanks, Catherine. But first up, we are joined today by the presenter and producer of Racing in Queensland, the multi-talented Jesse MacDonald. Jesse, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, Danny. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Fantastic. So can you tell us a little bit about Racing in Queensland?
Sure. Racing in Queensland obviously it's a show about horses, race horses. It's a variety show, as I like to talk about it, and I like to refer it as a footy show for racing. So in a nutshell, that's what it is. It's the footy show for racing, and like to have all sorts of information about it, entertainment, and obviously tipping the viewers lots of winners.
Fantastic.
What's interesting though about your show is that you're both a producer and a presenter on your show. Yeah. So have you got a preference?
That's a good question. Presenting and producing both entail quite a lot of, as you'd say, you've got to be quite inventive, I'd say, would be the word to describe it. You know, you ask me what I prefer, I'd have to say producing.
Oh.
Yeah, like I do like the producing side. The presenting side's a lot easier, but producing and getting the show up on air, it's a lot harder than people think. A lot harder.
Seems like a handful though, having to do the dual job.
Yeah, it is. It gets a bit stressful at times, to be honest with you. Like there's a lot of knockbacks, a lot of pressure. As you know, TV has deadlines. You know, you got to go to air on a time, on a date, and it requires a specific time. You can't say, oh look, I'm going to be sick today and I'm not going to turn in. So
nerve-wracking. Yeah,
there's a lot of pressures, and then you've got to generate the funds and as well get everyone on the show. Like I've got jockeys, trainers, you know, people that come on the show, and you've got to ring them up, and for every person that says yes, you know, there's 3 or 4 that say no, and on a certain day, they're going to be sick. And they don't care about the show. They're not interested whether you're going to go to air or not, or they're, you know, because they're not getting the 10,000 turn-up fee. So. And
you said as a producer, you know, a lot of people think it's the money man kind of person, but what really does it take to bring a show like Racing in Queensland to life? You did mention there is a bit of creativity involved as well.
Well, my theory is you're only limited by your imagination, and that's for everyone. Like anyone out there, if you want to produce a show, you can, but you're only limited by imagination. What you want to do, you can do it. It's just whether you want to actually get off your butt and be creative and do it.
Yeah, and for those people out there, what do you think it takes to be a good producer?
Know your market. Know what you want. Know what you're good at. Work to your strengths and your weaknesses. Improve on your weaknesses, and if not, try and get people involved. And if you can't, you just got to learn on the way. It's as simple as that.
But going back to your imagination point, what were you doing before you started your show? Or how did you sit there going, one day I'd like to start up my own show, and here you are? Yeah,
it's a tricky question. Like I'm a high school dropout. I didn't get any education. I started working with horses as a young kid, and I was always in drama. And then one thing led to another, and I got to a certain age where I was like, what do I want to do? I want to do a TV show, so I just taught myself. So everything I've done, from producing to hosting, I've self-taught.
But where did you start when you said, right, I want to do presenting?
My garage. Oh, wow. Yeah, well, I bought a camera and some editing software, and
that's great.
Bought some timber and stuck the timber together, and then painted it. Well, here we got a green screen, but I used the blue screen. Put the camera in there, the microphone, started talking to the microphone, and then I screen it out, and hence the start of Racing in Queensland.
And as you said, you're self-taught. I'm sure you've had a lot of frustrating moments, you know, in showbiz. If anything can go wrong, it often will. What are some frustrating or embarrassing moments you've had?
Oh, frustrating moments? Where do I start? I mean, you don't know where to start. From editing, you know, like you go to chroma key out something and it wouldn't key out properly, or you get fuzziness, to, you know, ringing up people and asking them to come on the show one week, and then the next week they say no. you know, and that's just like, oh.
Oh, and what would you do if that happened? Do you have to have a whole lot of...
You've got to have a contingency.
Jeez.
You know, always have a contingency. There's always a backup, always.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as you said, from producing and presenting, you find presenting a little bit easier. Why is that? Because it obviously does have a very different set of skills to producing. Yeah,
no, presenting's a lot easier in the sense that you don't have the pressure of organising everything. You know, from producing a show, you've got cameras, you've got editing, you've got directors, producers, guests. With presenting, you just turn up, put the suit on, look at the camera and say, hey, I'm welcome to Racing in Queensland. I'm Jesse MacDonald and we've got plenty coming up on the show. So, you know, like in terms of presenting, it's a lot easier, and producing, there's a lot more to it, a lot more hard work. Yeah. And a lot more frustrating moments that you deal with in producing. Have you had any awkward moments presenting though? Because I'm sure you can get some guests sometimes that might not be, it might be a bit camera shy. Well, for once we were in the studio and we went to go to camera, something went wrong. And then the director at the time, Vin, came in just as we went to air, and I was like, we were having a discussion, then we were on air. And we were on air at that point in time, so I had to sort of fake it until you make it, as they say, and just cut straight to the camera and we were on.
I was going to ask the same question as Catherine, but I guess you said that presenting's easier than producing, but you'd still get nervous, wouldn't you, with the presenting? Yeah, you get butterflies and sweaty hands for a minute, but only for 30 seconds, and then as soon as you're live, everything goes out the door because you're in the moment. You feel natural. Yeah, you're in the moment and you have to go with the flow. What is, if somebody was to start up their own, you know, show and they were doing a bit of presenting themselves, what are some do's and don'ts that you would recommend for them to be a good presenter? Well, I would recommend that, excuse me, I've got a bit of a frog in my throat. I would read a number of articles. They can be a magazine, newspaper and a novel, and actually read them out loud. So you learn certain techniques to deliver certain types of articles, like, you know, a News Weekly or a New Idea movie about who's naked on last week's beach. You know what I mean? If you read that story. Mail, I hope. Yeah. Well, maybe. Come on. Yeah. So, yeah, if you read an article like that, you would present that a lot differently than you say you were presenting the Financial Review article. Yeah. You read it differently, so I'd read it out, and that's always a good start. That's a good start to you know, learning how to deliver certain types of articles. Yeah, fantastic. That would be one tip. One tip. Any other ones? Yeah, do's. Please. Don't sleep in. Don't get lazy. Don't rest on your laurels. If you want it, go and get it. That's the biggest thing. Hope for us all. I think that's a really great message. Just go out there and get it. But I think that's all we've got time for. So we'll just leave it there, but we'll be back after a break with more Showreel. Welcome back to Showreel. Tarzan has gone 3D. A new German animation from Constantine Films has our ape man lost in the jungle as a child after a chopper crash. Raised by apes, he later wrestles crocodiles, goes snowboarding and of course meets Jane. It will be on our screens by September. James Franco will direct Madman's John Hamm in an upcoming adaptation of the William Faulkner tale, The Sound and the Fury. Franco will be on screen as well as having writing credits on the project. Australian actor Liam Hemsworth is starring alongside Harrison Ford and Gary Oldman in an upcoming thriller, Paranoia. It is a real chance for the actor after his breakout role in the Hunger Games franchise. The film is due out later this year. Steven Spielberg is developing the remake of the literary classic Grapes of Wrath. The Steinberg novel, first filmed by legendary director John Ford, is set to go into production next year. No inkling yet on who is favoured for the lead role, Tom Joad, but we can imagine that real care will be taken in the casting for the role, played by the memorable but late great Henry Fonda. And in TV news, Danish crime masterpiece The Bridge is set for its remade premiere in the US. The American version stars Diane Kruger and Demian Bichir, and Australians Thomas M. Wright as the Lone Wolf. And that's the news.
All professional film and television productions require money, and a good way to get that, especially on television, is through advertising, sponsorship and product placement. So first of all, Jesse, what kind of limitations do you face with sponsorship on community television?
Sorry, that's a tricky question. I don't really face a problem, but what I find challenging is, because my show's linked with racehorses and gambling, it can be slightly, you got to work within the parameters that are set by the network. So you just work within those guidelines, and within those guidelines, I mean, you don't have a choice. You just got to work by them, and that's what you do.
I know a lot.
Yeah, and getting the money to start a show or keep a show running or grow it even, you know, what is involved in that?
Well, a lot of hard work, sweat and tears, to be honest. It's a battle like I said, everything I've had to do is I've had to learn myself. So in order to gain advertising, it's hard. It's a hard battle. It's a tough game out there. You know, like with the global financial crisis and everything, and everyone sort of was saving their money, and it's not easy to get dollars these days. And they're not just throwing it out there. You've got to get numbers. You know, people want to know how many figures your network's getting, how many hits on the website are you getting, how many followers on all your social media, and all those things don't happen overnight. It takes time to build a brand, it takes time to build customers, it takes time to get viewers. You know, they say after 4 times they've watched the show, you've got them. So over the last 2.5 years, I've been able to build the brand.
Yeah. And
I've had the show go from my garage, just in Brisbane, and now it's airing not only in Brisbane but Melbourne and Adelaide and Geelong. So it's growing.
Yeah, and I understand with that brand management, you did have some issues when going from broadcasting just in Queensland to those other states. Can you just talk us through what those were, those challenges?
Yeah, the challenges was obviously the name of the show. Like when I first started, it was solely just in Queensland. It was called Racing in Queensland. But Melbourne, Adelaide, even Perth were in discussions. They wanted the name to change, so obviously to have national appeal, and so I changed the name obviously from Racing in Queensland to Blinkers Off, and that gave it national appeal. That's what the network wanted, so I said, yeah, no problem.
I love that name. I love that. It sounds great. Blinkers Off.
Yeah. It's sort of, I've had that sort of same feedback from people that watched the show, and before I changed the name, I mentioned the name Blinkers Off, and they loved it. So I ran with it, and I've just got the ratings back from Melbourne, and they were very good considering it's competing at the same time slot as the AFL. So it's very hard, but people were watching.
Where are you sitting at in the ratings?
Down there, I was getting 28,000 unique viewers. Oh. Yeah, for so.
You got to be pleased with yourself.
Yeah, you got to be happy with that. So hopefully that can generate big money with sponsorship. Hopefully in the future, and maybe take the show on a national level. Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously you probably get some perks being a producer. Was it handy that you picked racing and you enjoy racing, so you can go there for free, and it's all about work and stuff?
Yeah, well, it sounds so pretty, and you can dole it up all you want, but at the end of the day, people aren't going to let you in anywhere for free. It's a shame, but you do say, look, I'm coming here to film the show, can you give me a few tickets? Yeah, no problem. Yeah. And then you can hand them out, and look, maybe I'll have you girls on the show one day, maybe for Oaks Day, Victorian Oaks Day.
To have a ladies' day, fashions on the field and all that kind of stuff.
That's research, okay?
Yeah,
I need to do it.
Exactly. You've got to go shopping, you've got to find the outfit, everything like that is very important.
Tune into Jesse's show, you'll see us there soon.
But no, in terms of product placement and stuff like that, I know there is a lot of that in television and films. How do you feel about that? Do you think often sometimes it's too obvious, and sponsorship or advertising can be too in your face?
Well, funny you mentioned that. Just back to Danny's question about community TV, you can't have product placement.
Oh, really?
Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah. I mean, if you're going to do an interview with someone at a farm and they're wearing their farm hat, that's fine. But in terms of sitting on the show and just looking at the camera and having a, you know, like what they do on X Factor or American Idol, where they're doing the big Pepsi or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that sort of product placement, yeah, you can't have that on
That's good though, because that'd make your show seem genuine. Because when I think of product placement, I straight away think of Shannon off The Biggest Loser. Yeah. Take these vitamins and you will have good, and on and on it goes.
Exactly,
and then it turns me off the show, so that's good.
But that's the other thing in saying that, it proves that it works because you remember it.
Yeah,
so
but
that's another thing for viewers. You know, if you are starting your own show, like advertising is critical, and if you can have a catchphrase or...
It may be subtle.
Yeah, it does work, and it does sell, and it does put money in your skyrocket at the end of the day, and that's what it's about.
Yeah, we need it.
We need them.
Yeah, and I guess as a producer you have to kind of balance that as well. You know, obviously you need the money to keep the show going, but you know, you want to be
you
seen
need money for everything.
Exactly. So no matter what you want to do, you have to think about those advertising and sponsorship and stuff. But I will agree, there are some movies that you see and it's like product placement and they're just in the middle of a scene and then, you know, they hold up a can of something or they're eating something, or, you know, you see a certain type of car throughout the whole movie. And
I agree, we need it, but if it's subtly done, you know, if someone's going to force that down my throat, these vitamins, I straight away don't believe the person anymore. Whereas if it's sitting in the side, just placed
strategically. But now you were talking about the show and everything, just off the record, or even just sidetracking. I have written a feature film, and it's a 2-hour-long feature film. Wow. It's called Firefly Felix. It's about, in a nutshell, it's about two best mates, a gangster and a slow racehorse, and
oh wow,
we're in the process.
Is there product placement of racing in Queensland in there though? That's what I want to know.
Blinkers off, maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe the horse can start with blinkers and then have them off. And, a bit of subtle product.
Or every time there's a TV, you know, it's just on in the corner or something like that.
Yeah, I've done a few short films as well. With my best mate Kip Gamlin. He's on Neighbours now. He's just back. He was on Home and Away, and he was on BBC over in the UK, so yeah, look out. There could be a feature film on the horizon.
Exactly. Well, we'll have to keep tuned for that one. But that's all we've got time for in this segment. We'll be back soon with more Showreel. Stay with us.
Directed by Gore Verbinski, it also stars Armie Hammer and Johnny Depp. Let's have a look at the trailer.
There were rumors that sustained us. Stories of a man born in the desert. A ghost, some said. Some said flesh and blood. A masked man. A lone ranger.
If we ride together, we ride for justice.
Justice is what I seek, Kimosabe. Would you ever want to come back here?
It's my home.
Going somewhere?
Yes. No, we are not.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Shut up!
Yes.
In a nutshell, The Lone Ranger is a remake of the 1950s TV series that Johnny Depp plays the role of, and he plays a Native American warrior called Tonto, who pairs up with John Reed, who is an uptight man of the law, and I mean very uptight, and we watch as he transforms slowly into a legend of justice. He becomes a lot cooler. The new movie takes us on a journey of lots of surprises and uses a lot of humour throughout, especially between Tonto and the Lone Ranger. They're your typical unlikely pair that eventually become great friends and, of course, heroes. I went and watched The Lone Ranger on Friday night, and I showed up expecting it to be not my cup of tea based on purely just the reviews I'd read. I'm not sure if it was because I was expecting the worst or because I'd never watched the TV series, but I left the cinemas feeling pleasantly surprised. Although I didn't find it to be a gripping movie, nor do I expect it to earn any Oscars, I thought it was a light-hearted, easy-to-watch flick. And I know someone's going to disagree with me here. Having said that, if I was to give this movie a rating, I would probably award it a 5 out of 10. And I'd recommend this as one to save for a cheap DVD night, because I definitely didn't feel it was cinema worthy.
What? Are you off your head?
No, I've got
5 out of 10.
Good.
You got rocks in your head, girl. I don't know what you're watching.
Whatever.
But tell me, what didn't you like about
Says the
movie?
horse person. How about we ask Catherine what she thought? I might get some backup.
Thanks, Danny. Well, I went into the movie blind as well, so to speak. I have not seen the 50s TV series, nor did I read much about the story. The Lone Ranger movie, a gunslinging Western film, was a refreshing change from the many superhero, zombie and animated movies on our screens at the moment. It was an action-packed film with amazing stunts, including horse riding, speeding trains, gunfire, and even a few good explosions. The set and cinematography was extremely visually spectacular, and by seeing it on the big screen, it really enabled the audience, I think, to appreciate all the fast-moving action. Johnny Depp, in my mind, gives another amazing performance, proving his versatility once again. I am a bit of a Johnny Depp fan.
Are you for real?
Depp's witty character did portray some parallels, though, between the Pirates of the Caribbean character Jack Sparrow. However, a deeper character was revealed throughout the film. Armie Hammer also gave a strong performance, and his chemistry with Depp will have you laughing throughout as well. I will agree with you, Danny, that I don't think this film is going to win any awards for the most original or complex script, but it was engaging, light-hearted, with some subtle storytelling techniques. I would recommend this movie for anyone who likes a good action-adventure western. And so,
Fair enough.
I think by what Jesse was saying though, did you like it, Jesse? Or?
Oh, look, I went there and I wasn't expecting much at all.
Yeah.
But to be honest, I enjoyed it. Yeah, I enjoyed it. Johnny Depp was his usual, put on a mask, and I'm a bit sick of it, to be honest with you. Like, you had him in Pirates of the Caribbean, Alice in Wonderland. You've also Edward Scissorhands. Like, he plays the character, Sweeney Todd, which I thought was one of his better films. He played it well. I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the cinematography of the movie. What I liked about it was how they combined the special effects and the Hollywood over-exasperation of Hollywood with the cinematography of, the Grand Canyon and the desert. So it had that real nice mix, I thought, and I love the ending. So for me, I gave it 3.5 stars.
Out of 5 or out of 10?
Oh,
Did you say 3.5?
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh,
good.
God.
I was just checking. I was just clarifying.
Don't you watch the movie?
I thought that was lower
It's a
than
showreel.
mine.
Yeah, I would give it.
It's all about
I would have given it a
stars.
4 out of 5 as well.
Okay, well then I have to say 1.5, 2. If we're going out of 5.
Oh,
Brutal,
Yeah,
brutal.
that is
Not a
brutal.
fan over here.
I wasn't.
No,
I
you
just
didn't.
don't like silly humour. It was just unbelievable. I don't know.
well, about
But I
Fry, you were
do-
saying, Johnny, he's got this little shuffle in his
Yeah,
show.
I'm not going to act out what I said, but it just annoyed me.
Because
the
we
way
don't
he
want to
just
give too
shuffled
much
like a
away for those
comedian.
people who haven't seen
Yeah.
it, but there are some spectacular stunts and horse riding and stuff like that. And what did you feel about that? Obviously, knowing a fair bit about horses yourself.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed the horse. So I thought it added another dimension to the movie, and the horse had character.
It did.
He
It was
really
funny.
did.
I laughed in those bits.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the whole in our cinema was packed. It was sold out, so everyone was having a giggle at all those times as well. But I do believe they also did a lot of their own stunts and stuff. Can some of those things be dangerous
about
with the
that?
horses and all that kind of stuff going on? No?
Never dangerous.
Never dangerous?
No, never dangerous. Not if you're good at your job.
Oh, okay. So they just have to be very cool, calm and collected around the horses.
Hang on,
and
Johnny Depp got stomped by a horse in the filming of this.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. So
that's
that's how
good.
they were saying that it was actually real stunts that they were doing. And if I'd known that before watching the movie, I might have changed my opinion a little bit.
Yeah.
That Armie Hammer, they put him up on top of that tall, rickety tower. That's not giving anything
Yeah, that
away.
was a bit-
And they had a helicopter flying around over his
Yeah.
head, and it was blowing everyone's hats off on the ground. He said he was so scared.
Yeah, that was a bit.
That's
I
impressive.
must admit, even when I saw that scene,
Yeah.
I did get a little bit edgy in the
Oh, it was
knees and went,
nerve-wracking.
"Oh."
It was quite amazing though. There were some fantastic shots in there, and some of the scenery as well. I do agree. They really, showcase that as well as part of the Western, because always having the tumbleweeds and the desert. It's very iconic of a Western film. And I think they did keep that in there as well. That kind of iconic kind of Western feel as well. But they did, of course, have that modern twist to it as well. So. Would you still recommend going and seeing it though?
Definitely, just not at the movies.
Just not at the movies?
Just don't think it was worthy of it.
I would recommend seeing it, and the great thing about the movie, they played the original music to the Lone Ranger.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
So I give it both to Kimo Savi and Tonto here.
Fantastic. Well, you'll have to go out and see that one yourselves, guys, and make your own opinion. But that's all we've got time for this week. Thank you so much for joining us, Jesse. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. You can watch more Showreel on YouTube and catch up on the latest news on our Facebook and Twitter accounts.
Tune in at the same time next week for another episode of Showreel. Thanks. See you then.